a little bit of background on our speaker today, Adam Lewenberg. He is the president of Postal Advocate, the only mail audit and recovery firm in the US and Canada. We manage a portfolio of over 134,000 pieces of mailing equipment for the largest US companies. He speaks and teaches nationally on mail savings and industry trends. He was the former industry co-chair for the Boston Postal Customer Council and a member of the Mailing Systems Management Association with certifications in CMDSS and MDC. He's a featured writer for the Mailing Systems Technology magazine, and he also worked for one of the largest mailing vendors for over 17 years as the Director of National Sales for Presort, tabletop inserters, addressing hardware, software, and green offerings. He was also one of the top 5 account managers working nationally with some of the nation's top accounts. Over to you, Adam.
Thank you, Doris. So good afternoon, everybody. So today we're going to talk about Presort. And Presort is, a very great opportunity to save money on mail. In fact, I think it's one of the easiest. So we're going to talk about how do Presort services work? How do you get the best rates? Do we have the best service levels? There's lots of things to be considered. What other classes of mail can be processed? Some tips on negotiating for the future to make sure you're getting the best rate, and what are additional ways to save money. So first off, how do Presort services work? So at a very basic level, you're going to, the core of the way Presort services work is you're going to meter mail in your office. You're going to apply a discounted postage rate that's less than the full rate. The Presort service is going to commingle that with other mailers, run it through their sorting machines, and submit it as deep into the postal system to get the best rates possible that they can get, and basically share in that savings with you. So it's a revenue share agreement. That's the way the post office calls it. And they're going to try to sort to the highest sort levels possible. So let's just talk about post office sorting. So what does that mean? So it's not just a pure zip code sort. The way the post office sorts is they sort in 150, they want 150 pieces plus to go into a tray of a 5-digit tray. So in this case, it's 01095. And everything that can't go into a 5-digit tray goes into an AADC, Automated Area Distribution Center, which is a grouping of 3-digit zip codes. Like in this case, you see 060, but maybe 010 is included in that. And it's all those 3-digit zip codes that are funneling to the Hartford AADC Distribution Center. And then everything else goes into a mixed Automated Area Distribution Center tray, and that's sorted by zip code. So if you could sort it down in this way, so if we look at the rates, and you can see, if we're looking down below, a single piece of mail is 50 cents. If you do the most basic non-automated pre-sort, it's 45.9. If you can do an automated mixed AADC, so basically everything that gets, run through this process that we just discussed, it's 42.8. If you can get it to the AADC, it's 41.2. And if you get it to a 5-digit, it's 38.3 cents. So let's talk about how the rates work. If it's non-discounted, you're paying 50 cents. You run it through a pre-sort service, the typical rates that you're going to pay is somewhere between 42.8 and 45.9. That's going to give you a savings of 4.1 to 7.2 cents. The pre-sort service is going to try to sort your mail down to the 3 and 5 to the AADC and the 5-digit rate. So the pre-sort service is going to try to sort it down to 41.2 to 38.3. The post office is going to pay them the difference of what you metered it at, the metering rate that's on your mail piece, to the final rate that you get. So assuming that you metered it at 45.9, or that's your rate, the pre-sort service is going to make the maximum savings that they could make, or revenue, is 7.6 cents per piece. And if it was to the 42.8, it's 0.045. That's the maximum revenue they can make, assuming that every single piece of mail got sorted to a 5-digit rate, which is not the case. Very few, no pre-sort service can get 100% of their mail done. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how these rate structures work, but the core basics are 50 cents for a regular piece of mail. Using a pre-sort service, you can probably expect rates in the 42.8 to 45.9 rate, where you'll save 4 to 7 cents per piece. And, lower volume mailers will be less, higher volume mailers could be more, and we'll talk about the details. How do pre-sort services determine the rates? So higher volume mailers receive a larger percentage of the savings. So it just makes sense. The more pieces that they can pick up, the more they can optimize their machines, the more mail the pre-sort service can get to a 5-digit rate, and the happier everybody is, and they can pass that into you in discounts. But the main items that determine your rate are your mail volumes. How many pieces are you giving them? What frequency are they doing pickups? Where are the pieces going? Are they going all over the country, or are they, centered around a few different zip codes? So let's take an example. If you're a national mailer, it's going to be difficult for the Presort service to get a lot of your mail into 5-digit zip codes where they get the lowest rates. Versus if, let's say, you're a local community bank or utility where everything's going into a very small area where they can get a good chunk of your mail to 5 digits. These are the types of things that determine rate. What's the transportation cost to pick up your mail? Are you next to a place that they're already picking up today? Or do they have to drive, 20 minutes out of their way and utilize their truck and take their people out of service while they're getting your mail? Huge issue. Machine read rates. How clean is your mail? Can it be read by their scanners they have? They have these huge sorting machines that have scanners on them, and basically what the scanners are doing is they're reading the address on your mail piece and they're assigning a barcode that they're printing on the bottom right of your piece. So if your mail's clean, if the addresses are good, if it's not a lot of handwritten mail, it's better for their read rates and they can pass some of those savings on to you. How many Presort providers are there in your area? There are some areas that only have one Presort. Some areas have none, and some areas have one. But there are also areas like Chicago, as an example, that has multiple. So if you're in Chicago, it's a much more competitive market. The Presort services have to give better rates to clients because there are other Presort services that can come in and swoop in and take the business. So, and then what's the volume of mail the Presort service is able to sort to a 5-digit versus an automated area distribution center? If we go back one slide and we see the rates, how much of their mail can they sort down to the 38.3 cents versus the 41.2? Makes a huge determination of what rates they can give to you. Savings get larger as items get heavier. So this is a really important point. So let's focus on letters for a second. So again, we look at the 1-ounce letter, 50 cents is normal. You're going to be paying probably a rate of somewhere between 45.9 and 42.8 for that piece, and saving 4 to 7 cents. In 2015, I believe it was 15, the post office came out with something called 2nd ounce rides free, which means if you automate the mail through either a Presort service or barcoding the mail in-house, you get 2 ounces of mail for the same price as 1. So now look at that. So it would cost you 65 cents to send out a 2-ounce letter. You get the same rate for Presort of 42.8 to 45.9, and you save 19 to 22 cents on that piece. In 2017, they expanded that and they said up to 3.5 ounces of mail goes for the same rate as the 1 ounce. So look at a 3-ounce piece of mail. It's 80 cents, and you're getting it for 43 to 46 cents using a Presort service. It's a 34 to 37% savings. It's huge. Now, the biggest place where that makes sense is insurance companies, people sending, that are sending policies. If you're sending invoices and statements that are variable page length, where you have decent 2 and 3 ounce mail volumes, the savings for Presort just significantly multiplied with these 2nd and 3rd ounces rides free. So huge opportunity for savings. Flats. Flats are a little bit different. So with meters, you're going to meter the mail at a specific rate, and the post office can pay a refund in the background for the difference of what you metered it for and what the Presort service was able to be submitted at. It's called VAR, Value Added Rebate. With flats, the post office doesn't have a VAR program. So the way it works is a 1-ounce piece of mail, a 1-ounce flat is $1. The client's going to get usually a pre-sorted rate of about 80 cents. If they have high volumes, maybe they'll get a slightly lower rate of 72.7. But the model is going to be that the Presort service is going to tell the client to meter it at a different rate. And that might be an AADC, an auto 3-digit, or a 5-digit rate, as you can see here. They'll have them meter it at one of those rates, and then they'll invoice them from the difference of what the final rate is to what they metered it at. Because the post office doesn't have any way to refund the mail house, the Presort service, for those rates. So you can see that as items get heavier, the rate stays, the savings and the savings basically stays the same, and the revenue that Presort services make basically stays the same as well. It's because the additional ounce is 15 cents, and there's no discount on that 15 cents for the additional ounce. So that's why you can see your savings stays the same at around 20 cents, 20 to 27 cents. So these are typical rates. Obviously, rates are going to vary by all the factors that we talked about. So I'm just giving you this as a range so you can see how these programs work. So this is just an example of savings. Presort rates can vary greatly by area and clients, but let's just take a couple examples. You do 250,000 pieces a year of letter volume. Basically, you do 1,000 pieces a day. So a normal rate you might expect is a 4-cent savings. That's a $10,000 a year savings. If let's say 10% of your volumes are flats, you do 25,000 flats a year at 20-cent savings. That's 5,000. So by doing 1,000 letters a day and 100 flats a day, you save $15,000 a year. You get someone to pick up your mail, barcode your mail, and be a service provider and support person for your mail. So, and you can see as these volumes get larger, the savings increase dramatically. So, this is the most common way that large mailers process their mailings. They don't have the staff to do all these things in-house. They don't want to invest in the technology. They have miscellaneous mailings from different groups that make it too hard for them to automate themselves. And so they use a Presort service that acts as a partner, and they can get these types of savings. So they're great services to use. You can see the savings can be really large based on your volumes. How do you get the best rates? Okay, so big changes happened in this last rate increase. The first class postage rate was 47 cents and went to 50 cents. It was a 3-cent increase, one of the biggest postage increases we've had in years. So a 3-cent increase. But the pre-sort rates only went up 0.001 to 0.005. So look at these rates that we're looking at here. Based on your sort levels, a pre-sorted rate was 45.8, now it's 45.9. A mixed AADC was 42.4, now it's 42.8. So you could see these rates only went up, very small amounts. So there's an additional savings for every piece of mail. So the additional pre-sort value on every piece of mail is 2.5 to 2.9 cents. There is, for all your mail pieces, there's 2.5 to 2.9 cents more savings available in the mail pieces. The question is, if you're using Presort services today, did they pass that savings on to you, or did they keep that as incremental profit? This is an area for future negotiations. If they charge, basically as a rule of thumb, if your rates went up, if you're using a Presort service today and your rates went up more than 0.5 cent, the Presort service is taking more of the profit for each piece of mail, okay? And which is an area of discussion and potential future negotiation. On the flat side, you can see that the rates were $1, now they're still $1, but the pre-sort rates actually went up a little bit. So on the flat side, there's about a penny less value per flat, as you can see below. So the pre-sort services, if they kept rates exactly the same, is actually making less revenue on your flats by about a penny a piece. So it's very important to look at your invoices and calculate what rate you're paying. And that sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised. We find customers that when they start looking at their bills, and we start factoring all the fees, in some cases are paying more than first-class single-piece postage to use a Presort service, really defeating the purpose of using the Presort service in the first place. So how do you do that? Look at what rate you're metering on your piece. What are you metering a 1-ounce piece of mail going to the Presort service? Are you being charged? What is the fee you're being charged per piece for that Presort service? Or if you're getting a refund, understand what that refund is that you're getting per piece. And what's that average fee charged per piece? So you need to look at any miscellaneous fees tied to the piece. So reject fees, processing fees, pickup fees. Divide those total fees by the total number of monthly pieces to get an average piece rate. So let's just look at a really simple example. You're doing 2,000 letters a day. You're metering the mail at a mixed AADC rate of 0.428. You're charged 1.2 cents for pre-sorting, 1 cent for mail reject fee, and you're charged $20 per day for mail pickup. So you can see that 42.8 plus 1.2 cents is 44, plus 1 cent is 45 cents. You're paying 45 cents per piece, plus that $20 a day for pickup, you have to divide by the total number of pieces, which brings you to about a 1 cent per piece. So your total cost is 46 cents per piece. So you're saving 4 cents per piece. Because the single piece metered rate, the single piece non-pre-sorted rate is 50 cents. So It's very important that you know how to calculate all these things so you can see what you're actually paying. Presort service levels. These are the things that determine presort rates. What's your pickup time? Do you have the best time for pickup? Is there a day delay? Is it metered at the same day or next day? Are there any address quality issues? Does your presort service provide you with any reports from their fast forward system to show you so you can update the addresses in your database? Do they have any certifications? Like MPTQM is the main certification in the presort industry. That is the highest level of service and security. And what are their security procedures? How is mail being processed in a secure environment? A lot of the things that are going out are first-class mail. Do you have any issues with HIPAA requirements or validating that there's a process around your presort service? These are things to be asking your presort service when looking at your agreements. What other classes of mail can be processed? So first-class mail flats that we talked about. What they're looking for typically is non-handwritten, usually, like depending on the presort service, they'll be able to handle mail up to 7 or up to 12 ounces based on the types of equipment they have. Again, they don't offer VAR for flats. So just to reiterate, you're going to meter the mail most likely at a 3 or a 5-digit rate. The presort service is going to send you an invoice for the difference of what your final price is on top of the rate that you metered it at. So as a tip, combine your letter and flats volumes when negotiating rates, because the flats, you can see the presort service is making anywhere between 24 and 30 cents per flat, and there's a lot more leverage from a revenue perspective from what the presort service is making if you have a combined volume of letters and flats. Marketing mail. So marketing mail is a little bit different than first class. Marketing mail is the former standard mail. Post office changed the name, I think it was in 17 or 18, to marketing mail because they realized it was a better definition of what it really was. So there's still the sorting aspects just like you have in first class, but a lot of the savings around marketing mail is determined by moving mail closer to its final recipient. So the goal in marketing mail is to take advantage of these destination entry discounts, where you're moving mail to the destination distribution center or destination sectional center facility. And if you can move mail to one of those facilities, and so basically you're sorting all the mail that goes to that local, so you're moving mail from Boston and you're drop shipping it to a destination sectional center facility in California, then you're going to get extra savings. You're going to save 2.8 cents per piece on that marketing mail by doing that, by getting it to the sectional center facility. That discount went down a little bit from 3.1 cents that it was prior to the rate change, but it's still a significant savings. So the core way that standard mail, marketing mail gets its savings in presort is by moving mail to its final destination and having it submitted and hopefully speeding steps to the Postal Service and getting that mail to move faster, but letting the post office, eliminate that first move that they'd have to do to get it to that sectional center facility. And that's why they're giving discounts. International mail. So many presort services are going to have partnerships with international mailing service providers. And the most common models for this is drop shipping mail to a country's postal system. So maybe they'll consolidate all the mail going to Denmark and they'll drop ship it into the Danish postal system directly, or they'll use USPS discounted services to send international mail where they'll consolidate it and distribute it using the Postal Service. So there are different models for how that works. But many of the presort services are going to have agreements with international services to allow them to pick up at the same time. Package service. So this is the fastest growth segment that we're seeing in presort. The model is similar to standard mail. The goal is to move packages closer to their final destination and take advantage of local zones. So again, we're shipping mail we're shipping a priority mail piece from Boston to Los Angeles. So that would typically be in priority mail zone 7 or 8, but which is a much larger cost than if I'm just shipping it from LA to LA, which is maybe a zone 2. So if I can consolidate my priority packages, drop ship them to LA, and then put it directly into the postal system as a zone 2, there's a big savings that can be had. And that's how package services work. The other is they switch from priority mail to lower cost services like Parcel Select, which just delivers, those final miles or from the sectional center facility on, that maybe wouldn't have the same delivery objectives as priority mail, but because you're moving it further into the postal system and you're moving it closer to its final destination, it can mirror the same service levels. Tips for savings. What can you do to make the mail easier for the pre-sort service that can get you better rates? Can you have earlier pickup times? Can you have the mail instead of 4 o'clock in the afternoon when everybody wants it? Can you have the mail ready at 1 o'clock? Can you next day date it versus the same day? If you can do that, they can get more of your mail commingled with others sorted to a 5-digit than if they have to get all their mail done by 7 o'clock and commingle it. Less frequent pickups. Do they have to pick up every day? Could you be on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule? Could it be once a week? Could it be on call when you hit certain thresholds? Can you give them higher volumes of mail? Maybe consolidating mail, maybe taking mail you're doing in-house. More classes on a single pickup that we talked about, running letters, flats, international packages on the same pickups. And can you give them cleaner mail, less handwritten, and a validation process of your addresses? What are other services your pre-sort service might be able to offer? A lot of them are offering metering services. So instead of you having your own postage meter, they can do the metering for you and process it all at one time. The one caveat I give to people is you want to make sure your mail is sealed before it leaves your facility, especially if you have private information in your envelopes. And a lot of pre-sort services also offer mail fulfillment services, printing, folding, inserting, mail preparation, basically acting like a mail house. I recommend reviewing your rates annually with each USPS increase to make sure that you're getting your fair share of that USPS change, just like we looked at for this one. Additional ways to save money, and these are the main ones. Gain visibility to your mail. This is the only way and the most important way to save. What are you sending? What's the quantity, frequency, mail types? What are the mail issues you may have with your pre-sort service? Do you have any access to the pre-sort services vendor portal that would show you your quantities, your reject rates, things like that? Is there a review process for your weekly, monthly invoices that people are looking at what's being processed? Is it matching the contract terms? Consider barcoding yourself. If you have enough volume and it's coming from single print streams, can you use some simple software that will allow barcodes to be put onto your pieces directly and sorted and complied with so you can keep the full advantage of the discounts? Look at outsourced mailings. So we have some clients that use third-party outsourcers, but and many of those outsourcers are using a pre-sort service, but instead of the contract for that pre-sort service being with the outsourcer, they maintain it themselves. So in other words, they're ensuring that they're getting the full value of their mail with that pre-sort service without any markups or anything like that. This is a big one. Consider your national footprint. Most companies don't have a national program for pre-sort. They will negotiate pre-sort on an individual location basis only and not have sort of a national plan of how they do it. And that's for a couple of reasons. One is people who've set up the pre-sort agreements are usually local. Many of the pre-sort companies are only 1 or 2 locations. But there are some national pre-sort companies, or there could be national standards that you put in play for pre-sort services, even when you're using local single providers. But the more you can look at it nationally, you'll find places that weren't taking advantage of any pre-sort discounts, places that you could get better pre-sort discounts, creates order and control, and it means that you can get better savings than this. Run an RFP for pre-sort services to make sure you're getting the best rates and service levels, and use outside expertise. So we manage this for clients. We help clients drive to these types of savings. And when you can control it in this way, you can find savings that you just wouldn't have otherwise gotten. So consider outside expertise to see if there's any savings that got missed. Summary. Pre-sort is the best and easiest way to save money on postage. It's important to understand how these pre-sort services work, their thresholds, their revenues, and their savings. Just like this last rate increase, if you're using a pre-sort service, if your rates went up more than 0.5 cent, the pre-sort service is taking advantage of that. Visibility is the key to optimizing this category. If you don't maintain some level of visibility to what's happening in this, you're missing savings. Multiple classes. Can you get multiple classes, locations, service offerings to expand the savings? So it's not just first-class letters at one facility. There could be a much greater opportunity when you look across all your locations and all the services offered. there's going to be a huge variance in the rates clients pay for Presort, what the rate they're metering it at, what the fees are, what their final end pieces are. It's important to understand what those are and then make sure that you're getting the best rates that you can negotiate. And again, outside expertise can help optimize this category and make it easy to manage the detail for the future. So we hope this type of educational format is helpful for you. We believe in education. It's one of our core foundations. We're going to be running educational webinars throughout the year in different topics. In April, we're going to be running Enterprise PC Postage Round 3, the differences that are happening between PC postage and postage meters. There's a lot of change in this area. In May, the top 10 ways for enterprises to save on mail costs. In June, the top 9 ways to recover lost postage. In September, the government has new FASB standards, accounting standards that require a different level of visibility to your mailing fleets, where we'll talk about what those rules and regulations and how you can comply. In October, the top 10 ways to manage enterprise mailing spends across the enterprise. In November, everything you need to know when buying mailing equipment. We'll be covering all different types of mailing equipment. And then in December, budgeting for the 2020 rate increase. There's usually a rate change that happens every January. We'll have the data about that rate change, and we'll help you make sure you understand the rate change and can budget for it. So real quick about us, what we do is we help clients manage their mailing spends. And we've saved our clients I think we just hit the $50 million threshold over the last week. We're managing a fleet of 134,000 pieces of mailing equipment for some of the largest companies in North America. Our average client has saved $1.5 million, including an average of about 60% on their equipment side, plus extra services like we're talking about with Presort, lost postage, fees, vendor recoveries. Everyone on our team came from this industry, and we have 230 years of experience. And what we're really proud of is we've developed the only web-based tools available that cover all vendors across all spaces to provide a level of visibility that just hasn't been offered before. We work with the largest companies in North America, the top 8 of the top 15 banks, 3 of the top 10 insurance companies. It doesn't necessarily matter what type of industry you're in. It just matters that, you know, there's lots of locations and lots of varied mail spends. And typically what we do for clients is we do a no-cost analysis where we basically will show you what's going on inside your operation, provide the visibility that you need, and show you where the savings can be had. If you decide to move forward, then we go implement those savings for you. We present everything to you for approval. We don't do anything without your approval. We manage it in a web dashboard, and we give ongoing support. And the typical model for our clients is contingency-based, so if we don't save you any money, we're free, but you get the top experts in the country working on your behalf.